This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Two-year colleges in the United States are also known as community colleges. Students earn an associate degree, or they can train for a job for a year or two and get a certificate. Community colleges are less costly than other schools. Some international students can even get a year of education for free. The United States government and the colleges pay the costs in a program called the Community College Initiative. 6 countries took part during the first 2 years: Brazil, Egypt, Indonesia, Pakistan, South Africa, and Turkey. Now those countries are joined by Cuba, Ghana, and most of Central America. Local Fulbright committees generally nominate the students. The program provides job training for people who otherwise could not attend college. They learn skills their countries need, like agriculture and healthcare. Vocational school teachers and administrators from Egypt can also receive professional development through the program. The program began 2 years ago with 84 students and 6 colleges. State Department officials say more than 500 students will attend 37 community colleges this fall. Where students are placed depends on what they want to study. The program is also a chance to learn about America and its people. And it gives colleges a way to expand their diversity. The students live in dormitories or apartments or with local families. Carol Stacks Brown is an administrator of the program for a group called Community Colleges for International Development. She says they look for people who have had some work experience, speak some English, and want to experience another culture. The program includes English classes in the summer before school starts for those who need them. Carol Stacks Brown says colleges in some countries might accept credits from the program. But this is not a way to immediately transfer to 4-year colleges and universities in other countries, including the United States. Students cannot return to the United States for 2 years after they finish their year of study. A web page is being developed for information on the Community College Initiative. For now, students from countries in the program should contact their local Fulbright committee or United States Embassy. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. Earlier reports in our Foreign Student Series are at voaspecialenglish.com.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, has reported some good news about education in 2 areas of Somalia. Puntland and Somaliland are now relatively peaceful and secure, at least compared to central and southern Somalia. A study found that in Puntland, the share of students in primary education increased from 26% to 43% over the last 5 years. A smaller increase was reported in Somaliland. In both cases, the gains in school attendance were greater among boys than among girls. Girls leaving school is a problem across Somalia. For example, only 1/3 of Somali girls who had completed first grade took the Form 4 exam in the 2011-2012 school year. And girls represent only 28% of students in Somali secondary schools. The communications chief for UNICEF in Somalia, Susanna Price, says more schools are being built. She says the agency is developing projects in several fields of education. She also says UNICEF has been working on training teachers and developing non-traditional forms of education. Some of these programs are for children of families that herd livestock and move from place to place. Susanna Price says education is very important to the future of Somalia. But there are problems in getting parents to send girls to school. The spokeswoman says UNICEF encourages equality between males and females in education. More universal education could help Puntland and Somaliland also improve other areas of development, such as health care. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laurel Bowman.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. We received a question from a listener in the West Bank about how American schools use educational technology. There is not a simple answer. It depends on the subject and level of students, of course, but it also depends on the interest and training of the teachers and the goals and budgets of the schools. Schools are almost all connected to the internet, but some have more technology and use it more than others. For example, some schools use computers for activities like video conferencing to bring the world into the classroom. And some classrooms are equipped with things like a smart board, a kind of interactive whiteboard. Interactive whiteboards are large displays for presentations. They connect to a computer and can operate by touch. They can be used for documents or writing or to project video. Some teachers are trying creative new ways to teach with devices like iPods and mobile phones. But educators say the most important thing, as always, is the content. Yet technology can have special importance in some cases. Cosmobot is a therapy robot. It stands about 1/2 meter tall and has a blue body and a friendly face with big eyes. One child who works with it is 6-year-old Kevin Fitzgerald. Kevin has developmental dyspraxia. He has difficulty moving his mouth and tongue. He works with Carol Simango-Sprouse as he uses a set of buttons attached to a computer. He can make the silent robot move forward, backward, or around in circles. Kevin's mother thinks the robot has had a calming influence, helping her son get along better with his friends. Cosmobot was developed by Anthrotronics. Corinna Lathan started the company 10 years ago to work with children with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, autism, and other developmental disabilities. Children become friends with the robot, she says. That can have a big effect on their behavior, helping them work harder and longer in therapy sessions. Corinna Lathan is currently working with a British company to develop other socially assistive robots. She says they are still considered research tools in the United States. They are not used as much as in places like Britain and Japan, but she hopes to change that. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can comment on our reports at our website, voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. In the last 10 years, hundreds of American schools have begun to offer a new way to teach foreign languages. This method is called dual or two-way immersion. Here is how it works at Londontown Elementary School in Centerville, Virginia, outside Washington. In some classes, only Spanish is spoken, even during the Pledge of Allegiance, a morning tradition for American school children. In one second grade class, the children learn math and other subjects completely in Spanish. Later in the day, they learn only in English. Half of the children are from families that speak Spanish at home. The other half are native English speakers. Myra Almeida is the teacher. She says when both these groups come together, they are learning from one another, which is very good. Helen Arzola teaches the youngest children. She says a child before age 8 is a language learning machine, so this is the best time to learn a language. She says her kindergartners from English-speaking families may have never heard Spanish before. And she says children from Spanish-speaking families benefit from learning in their own language. Helen Arzola says the goal of the dual language program is to teach low-income Hispanic children English, good English, social English, and academic English. But some people are still not sure about these programs. They say bilingual education has not always taught Hispanic students enough English. Londontown Elementary is in Fairfax County, Virginia. The county also offers immersion programs in French, German, and Japanese. One sixth grader at Londontown says it's not like traditional teaching. Another student says she likes to learn other languages. But a national survey found that in recent years, foreign language teaching decreased in public elementary and middle schools. Fewer schools teach French, German, Russian, or Japanese. Some schools say a federal education law from the last administration has hurt language teaching. This law only requires testing of progress in math and reading. Schools also face language teacher shortages, and now budget cuts caused by the economy. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can watch a video of this report by Jerome Sokolovsky at voaspecialenglish.com.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Entrance examinations have been causing problems at the University of Liberia in Monrovia. The exams help to decide whom the university will accept as a student. The trouble began after an education specialist, James Dorborjala, was named to direct and administer the testing. Recently, about 25,000 high school students took the test, but failed. Mr. Dorborjala says he and his team want to show that a fair examination can be held. He says some Liberians think they cannot enter the university unless they make a financial gift in return. He said the university has been trying to decide how to oversee the process so that people's abilities would be measured on the basis of their performance on the examinations. Last year, the University of Liberia accepted about 7,000 new students after they took a similar exam. But that test was judged differently. Mr. Dorborjala says the university sought his help because it had problems in the past with entrance exams. The country's Minister of Education says she does not think that all the students failed the test. Some of the students have held protests at the university. They say they were cheated out of more than $20, which was required to register for the test. It appeared that the university would have no first-year students until Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf met with university officials. The officials then said they would lower admission test requirements and accept at least 1,600 people. Mr. Dorborjala says the most recent test results were based on raw scores. A raw score does not take into account how well individuals perform within a group of students. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Persutti.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Last week, we told you how some international students have few friends in their host countries when they study overseas. One study in the United States found that 38% of foreign students said they had no close American friends. Communications specialist Elizabeth Garys studied more than 450 foreign students. VOA's Jessica Stahl also investigated the issue in her blog, The Student Union. Her survey showed 75% of foreign students said they have more than 2 American friends, but 10% reported having no American friends. Elizabeth Garys at Baruch College in New York says efforts to improve relationships between the two groups of students have yet to be studied in detail. She says these efforts should begin with the college or university. Elizabeth Garys says teaching institutions should build systems that support contact. They can do that, she says, with group activities early in the school year. She suggests taking walks, going on bicycle, field, or camping trips, and attending parties, sporting events, or film festivals. She says such activities should be held repeatedly to bring students together throughout the school term. Elizabeth Garys also suggests that foreign students share housing with American students. Michigan State University is known for its programs for international students. Last year, about 5,900 students from 133 countries attended Michigan State. They made up perhaps 12% of the total university population. Peter Briggs directs the Office for International Students and Scholars at Michigan State. He says more foreign students are expected to register this year. Many students and community members are trained and prepared to help foreign students. The volunteers assist new students as they complete government requirements and find their academic advisors. Peter Briggs says the volunteers also help answer their traditional questions of new people anywhere. Where do I get an identification card? Which is the best bank? What is my cell phone plan? How do I get a social security number or driver's license? He says that kind of information is shared both formally and informally as students advise other students. We're really supporting that network, he says. Peter Briggs also notes that if the new students make friends as they begin school, they will come to feel part of the life and traditions of the university. For VOA Special English, I'm Laurel Bowman.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report in Special English. Drexel University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is more than 120 years old. In 2009, the university opened Drexel University, Sacramento, in California. 11 international students were part of the first class at Drexel University, Sacramento. Today, 32 international students are at the school, and they are all from China. The master's degree in finance program is almost entirely Chinese students. Most of the students are from Shanghai, a big financial center. Some are from the capital, Beijing. Sandra Kirschman is executive director at the university. She says a master's degree in finance is very attractive and a top degree in terms of return on investment. Drexel University started its master's degree in finance program in Philadelphia. Sandra Kirschman says it became popular with Chinese students from Shanghai and Beijing, and they told their friends. The Philadelphia campus has finance students from other countries as well. But Sandra Kirschman says the Sacramento program may appeal to Chinese students because the West Coast is closer to China and a gateway to the Pacific Rim. The courses are taught in English. She says students must do well on the TOEFL, or test of English as a foreign language, to be admitted to the university. The 18-month program costs about $55,000. International students pay full tuition. Sandra Kirschman says this helps the nonprofit university balance its budget and offer financial help to American students. Drexel's Sacramento location currently accepts only graduate students, but an undergraduate business program will start in the fall of 2013. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. The word cabaret brings to mind images of singers in nightclubs, or maybe Liza Minnelli performing years ago in the movie Cabaret. What the word does not bring to mind is college dormitories, dining halls, and early morning classes. But for the past 8 summers, hopeful singers have come to the International Cabaret Conference at Yale University. Think of it as a cabaret training camp in New Haven, Connecticut. The artistic director is Irv Rabel, a club owner in New York City. He says cabaret is a deeply emotional experience for a singer. Learning how to touch the heart of the audience may be the main goal of the conference. But the students also learn how to dress and do their hair and makeup. And they learn about sound, lighting, and marketing. The 38 students this year were ages 16 to 66. They came from all over the United States and other countries. Harold Sanderson is from the state of Oklahoma. He began his professional life as an investment banker. Then he became a theater producer for 20 years in London. Then he gave that up 3 years ago to start singing, which is what he wanted to do in the first place, but he never had the confidence. Harold Sanderson and his classmates had the chance to spend 9 days working with top music directors and cabaret artists. They included Laurel Massey, an original member of the singing group Manhattan Transfer, and Faith Prince, a Tony Award-winning actress. So now it is time for the first performance session. Mr. Sanderson tries his own version of a Beatles song. Faith Prince likes it, but she tells him not to close his eyes while singing. Mr. Sanderson nods his head in agreement and tries again. His classmate, Lindsay Sutherland Bowl, is a singer from Vancouver, Canada. She trained in opera, but she changed her mind and became interested in cabaret singing. The teachers think she sounds too theatrical at times. They work with her through a week of 14-hour days. Ms. Bowl says it is not just about singing. It is all about storytelling. While she knew that before, she understands that at a much deeper level now. On the last night, all the students have 3 minutes to show what they have learned in front of a paying audience. The concert is called Cabaret Stars of Tomorrow. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report.
The number of international students in the United States is at record levels. Last year, more than 670,000 foreign students attended an American college or university. And for the 8th year, the school with the largest number was the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. USC has about 6,600 international students in regular academic programs. 1 in 4 graduate students and 1 in 10 undergraduates come from other countries. In a special class, international students meet with American students and learn about American life, says instructor Vincent Vigil. He says, we are able to have them interact with American students, but then also ask them any sort of simple questions that you may ask another person. What do you like to do for fun? Why did you choose USC? What do you do on the weekends? Just simple things, so that way they get to understand what it means to be an American student. Sports fans know the University of Southern California for its athletics, but students say they come for the strong academic programs. The university's ties are strongest with Asia. Tony Tambaskia, director of the Office of International Services, says USC actively seeks international students. He says, we currently have students from about 115 different places of origin around the world. India is first with over 1,500 students. We have almost as many from mainland China. Yuan-Si Zhao from Beijing is working on her master's degree in communication management. She says, I have lots of friends that came to USC. That is the main reason I wanted to come. Some students come to study business or liberal arts, or to attend the university's highly rated engineering school. Indian engineering student Rahul Kola says the international student population was part of the school's appeal. California's climate is also appealing. Foreign students not only give schools more applicants to choose from, they also provide money. Undergraduate students from other countries usually pay full tuition at American colleges and universities. Only a small percentage receive financial aid. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. Check out our Foreign Student Series for those interested in studying in the United States. Click on the link at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. For years, the University of California, Los Angeles has done a national survey of first-year college students. Some questions in the freshman survey relate to emotional health and stress. Last year, 29% said they often felt overwhelmed by all they had to do in their last year of high school. That was 2 percentage points higher than the year before. There was a big difference between men and women. Almost 40% of women reported feeling that level of stress, compared to just 18% of men. Deborah Stipek is Dean of the School of Education at Stanford University in California. She says a lot of students are under too much pressure from parents and schools. They are not enjoying what can be the incredible satisfaction of learning and developing understandings and skills. Learning can be an adventure, but instead of an adventure, it's really about the test. It's about the college application. Professor Stipek recently wrote about this issue in the journal Science. She used the example of her own daughter in high school. Her daughter has taken advanced placement, or AP courses, in French to earn credit toward college. She told her mother she would be happy to never speak French again. Deborah Stipek says, "I think that revealed the real basic problem, which is the AP courses that she was taking in French were not about learning French, not about being able to communicate with a different culture, or to travel, or to have a skill that could be useful in life. It was about getting a score on an AP test that would help her get into the college of her choice." She works with schools to do yearly surveys of students to find out their sources of stress and anxiety and get their ideas for supportive policies. We've gone into schools where they say, "This isn't a problem." And then they do a survey of the students, and they are just blown away by what they get back from the students when the students are actually asked. In 2009, a documentary film looked at the pressure on many students to succeed in school and in lives busy with activities and homework. The film is called Race to Nowhere. Deborah Stipek, who was interviewed in the film, says it shows that many students today are not experiencing the joys of learning. They feel under enormous pressure to perform. Perform, she says, as opposed to learn. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. Americans talk a lot about illegal immigration, but not as much about legal immigration. Legal immigrants who want to become citizens must learn English and show a knowledge of American history and government. They must also pay a fee and meet other requirements. Immigrants may take citizenship classes to help them prepare for the naturalization test. Last year, 13 groups received a total of just over $1 million from the government to offer these classes. This year, that support has grown to almost $8 million. The money is going to 75 organizations across the country. Now, many classes are being offered free of charge through a program supported by United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. Alejandro Mayorkas is the agency's director. He says the agency wants to make it easier for people to become American citizens. Elsie Ventura from El Salvador paid $100 to take a class near Washington. She says it is a lot of money for her to pay. She is a single mother who supports her own mother, but her goal is to become an American. She says she wants to have rights like anybody else in this country. Other immigrants share that goal. But for some young people, hopes of citizenship were recently blocked in Congress for the 5th time in 10 years. The United States has an estimated 11 million illegal immigrants. About 2 million of them arrived as children brought by their parents. A measure known as the DREAM Act would put these children of undocumented immigrants on a path toward citizenship instead of possible expulsion. In return, they would have to show good moral character and graduate from high school. They would also have to complete 2 years of college or serve in the military. DREAM is short for Development, Relief, and Education for Alien Minors. Some conservatives say it could increase illegal border crossings at a time when many Americans want stronger controls. But the idea gained support among conservatives and liberals, the military, and education leaders. Still, the measure died in September in the Senate, where it was tied to a bill to let homosexuals serve openly in the military. Political observers do not expect Congress to consider the DREAM Act again before congressional elections in November. But they do expect supporters to keep trying in the future. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. In the American state of Massachusetts, some teenagers who break the law are sentenced to Shakespeare. 12 young actors rehearsed the opening of Henry V. They started meeting in May. They have less than 2 weeks to go before they must perform the play for the Shakespeare in the Courts program. Like most of the others, 15-year-old Tim was not a fan of William Shakespeare. He is here for a violent crime, assault and battery. He says, "The judge sentenced me here, so my first thoughts were, Shakespeare is not my thing. I'd rather not. It's a lot easier than picking up trash, so I gave it a try." And he discovered there is a lot to like about the English writer who died in 1616. The young actors return the trust and respect that director Kevin Coleman shows them. They clearly enjoy working with him and with Shakespeare. Mr. Coleman says, if you present it to them in a way that engages their imagination, that engages their playfulness, that engages their willingness, they really come alive. Kevin Coleman is education director for Shakespeare and Company, a theater group in Lenox, Massachusetts. Many years ago, the principal of the local high school came to him to develop a theater program for the school. That principal, Paul Parachi, later became a juvenile court judge for Berkshire County. He wanted to copy the program to help the teens in court develop self-esteem and communication skills and better control their anger. More than 200 kids have been sentenced to Shakespeare. The program is 10 years old, and it has received a lot of recognition, including an award in 2006 from the White House. Paul Parachi left the court last year at 70, the age when judges in Massachusetts must retire. But Shakespeare in the Courts is still going strong under the direction of Kevin Coleman. He says, we're not there to fix them. It's not about fixing them. Will they get into trouble after they have done this program? Sure, because they are adolescents. Will they get into as much trouble? No. 15-year-old Tim already sees a change in himself. He says he has more patience to get through long scenes. Paul Parachi says all the hard work is clear in the final performance. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can watch a video of this report at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. President Obama wants the United States to have the world's highest rate of college graduates. But his administration also wants stronger rules for colleges that operate for profit. Career colleges receive billions of dollars from taxpayers through student loans. The Education Department says some of that goes to waste and leaves students in debt for educations of little or no value. To receive federal aid, career colleges must prepare students for what the law calls gainful employment in a recognized occupation. 2 tests are proposed to see if they do. One would measure the relationship between debt loads and how much students earn after they complete a program. The other would measure the rate at which all students repay their loans, whether they complete the program or not. Programs that fail these tests could be restricted or blocked from federal student aid. The Education Department says for-profit colleges and training programs are important. In 2008, they had close to 2 million students, nearly 3 times more than in 2000. Last year, the 5 largest received more than 3/4 of their money from federal student aid. And that amount did not include other forms of government aid. Yet officials say for-profit colleges may be less supervised than other schools. They also point to reports of highly aggressive marketing. For every 100 graduates of for-profit colleges, 18 fail to repay their federal student loans. That compares to 5 graduates of public colleges and universities. The department is now collecting public comments on a number of negotiated rules. Some would require career colleges to release their graduation and job placement rates. The goal is to publish a final rule by November. The Career College Association called the debt-to-earnings proposal unwise, unnecessary, unproven, and unlawful. The group says it has found that students in higher-priced programs are more likely, not less likely, to repay their students' loans. It says the move could end programs serving 300,000 students. Female and minority students would face the most harm, it says, as they are more likely to attend career colleges. The association also points to shrinking budgets for community colleges. Its president, Harris Miller, says students need more information, not fewer choices. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report in Special English. Children starting school in Georgia this year have another reason to be excited. They are receiving computers they can take home with them. At a public school in the Georgian capital of Tbilisi, children are receiving netbook computers. Educational officials say the children will learn more and develop better computer skills if they can bring the technology home. The hope is that computer technology will become second nature to these children. The Georgian government is paying for the project. It has spent about $5.5 million on 50,000 Georgian-made netbooks. The computers are being made in an algorithm computer factory based in the capital. But the netbook computers are only part of the education upgrade. Georgia is also offering what it calls future classes. They have been opened in 80 schools around the country. These classes are fully equipped with modern technology. There are no pens, pencils, or notebooks. Future classes use interactive smartboards and monitors instead. So students learn and study using this up-to-date technology. Students also can study the electronic version of past lessons without going back through stacks of papers. All future classes are connected to each other digitally, so students can compare work and chat about the subjects they study. The Deputy Minister for Education says the netbooks are not meant to replace school books. She says they just want to give children an up-to-date and relevant education. And she adds that schools need to prepare children for modern-day challenges by exposing them to modern-day technologies. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laurel Bowman.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. About 10% of spending on primary and secondary education in the United States comes from the federal government. For 10 years now, federal law has tied this spending to student performance. States have been required to show progress through yearly testing. But states say testing tells only part of the story about efforts by schools and students to improve. So the Obama administration has eased the limits on states in measuring performance. The western state of Colorado, for example, has a new assessment method. This new measurement tool is called the Colorado Growth Model. The idea is to show academic growth, just not achievement on tests. It combines test scores, family income levels, school size, the ethnicity of the student, and many other factors. Bill Bonk is one of the creators of the Colorado Growth Model. He says, "It's a very fancy calculation. We're very proud of it." The results from schools across the state are shown online on a graph. The graph shows a school's average score on standardized tests, as well as its academic growth. Josh Smith is a principal of a middle school in a network of public charter schools called West Denver Prep. Charter schools are publicly funded, but not operated the same as traditional public schools. Mr. Smith says he likes to show his students this graph so they can see their school's progress. Many of his students have parents who do not speak English. He likes to play word games with his students to help them expand their vocabulary. 8th grader Juan Celtero says names like these and studying hard have raised his expectations for himself. He says he wants to be an electrical engineer. The teachers really want you to learn, he says. They give you support and talk you through things. On average, students enter 6th grade at West Denver Prep performing below grade level. But 3 years later, most are outperforming other students across the state. The new assessment method shows that each year, the average West Denver Prep student learns more math than 94% of all the students in Colorado. Reading and writing scores also show growth. Josh Smith says the students have to study hard to meet high expectations. But he says perhaps the most important thing they should learn is to believe in themselves. You can watch a video about West Denver Prep and the Colorado Growth Model at voaspecialenglish.com. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.